It's very nice to see you again. Um, oh, off to a very laggy start. Love that. Um, it's been a bit, and honestly, I need to start making a more consistent schedule with making videos. The only issue is finding out what I want to talk about. But I have a solution. You see, I am a Transformers fan. I love Transformers. I love getting the figures. I love everything about it. However, with being a Transformers fan, there is something that everyone should know before going into a fandom, but unfortunately, no one ever tells you about this. It sucks being a Transformers fan. And you're probably wondering why. Why does it suck to be a Transformers fan? It's been going on for 40 years or whatever. Yeah, it has been going on for 40 years. Do you know how many series have been canceled or restarted or just disappear off the face of the earth and we're expected to just exist with what? Okay. We're expected to just exist with that? Because I can tell you, it's been happening since 1990. And you're probably wondering what example I'm reaching for. Have you ever heard of Transformers Zone? It is an OVA that was released in 1990, produced by Takara, the Japanese line of Hasbro, or not Hasbro. Sorry, they're two different companies, but they work together. It's a whole thing. Point is, to make this simple for others, it was an OVA produced by pretty much the Japanese side of Transformers, and it was amazing. It's 22 minutes long. It's free on YouTube. You can go watch it, right? I love it so much. The designs are interesting. It captivates you really fast. It's if you think that you know all the characters going in, you don't. Um, you really, oh man, you really don't, because this takes place literally chronologically 40 years later. Funny. Um, but it's a really captivating and interesting OVA. The problem is that that's all it ever got. And you're probably wondering, why am I singing its praises and all this? It must have been bad. No, it was really good. It was really good. The reason it got canceled from being a series, which it was originally intended to be, by the way, is because of poor toy sales. Now, don't misunderstand me. I do know that Transformers was like the cartoon was pretty much just a it was pretty much just a commercial for the toys. You know, you're supposed to love these characters, and if you love the characters, you're gonna buy the toys, all this other stuff, right? But there is a lot of lore in the series itself, and a lot of characters who, you know, there's a reason we're buying those toys, and it's because we fell in love with them through the cartoons, or for some of us, it was the Bayverse movies. It was the Energon cartoon, Armada, Prime, um, even Cyberverse or Earthspark. You know, the Transformers fandom has a lot of people coming in from a lot of different places, and personally, I grew up on like everything. Well, not everything. I grew up on everything that was like up to the mid 2010s and before that. But I've been a huge Transformers fan for as long as I can remember. And you know, it's one of those things that's very dear to me. And I loved Bumblebee. I loved Optimus. I loved Jazz. Have you ever heard of Blaster? There's so many people who would fuck with Blaster if they knew who he was. Soundwave is really cool in the G1 cartoon. He has a vocoder. It's really funny if you think about it, but he comes off as so cool. Um, And Prime fans know exactly what I'm talking about when I say he's cool, because in Prime he's moving differently. But it's just, there's all these cool characters you just fall in love with through the cartoon and through the movies and whatnot, right? And so you don't want those series to get canceled, right? Here's where the issues begin. 1990, the OVA, the Zone OVA, fails because of poor toy sales. And don't get me wrong, if I gave you a copy of the OVA and I told you, "Hey, this is Transformers, you should watch it." You would go in and you'd be like, "Who are these people? Who is Victory Saber? Why should I care about Diatlas?" If you are a keen-eyed viewer, you'd notice Devastator and Menasor and Predaking, but that you'd only recognize those guys if you're a G1 fan, because they're using their G1 designs, you know? So, not everyone's going to go in there and they're not going to recognize, especially with a little bit of the updated designs, who these characters are. And that sucks. But it still has so much merit. Its animation's beautiful. Oh my god. No, leave me alone. Leave me alone, Husk. Oh. Okay, I'm good. And you like, you wouldn't know that this was transform. If I gave this to you and I said, this has nothing to do with Transformers, you might believe me. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't a good Transformers series, because Zone is a continuation of the G1 cartoon. You see, for those of you who don't know, G1 is kind of split into several different continuities. You have the comics, which split off into the UK comics and Regeneration 1 and then G2. You have the cartoon, which was the American cartoon, and then also the Japanese cartoon. But eventually, they split off after season 3, whereas the Generation 1 cartoon had a season 4 that briefly covered the Headmasters and was like 4 episodes long or something like that. I forgot. The Japanese cartoon went on for years after season 3. It had Headmasters, and then from Headmasters you go into Master Force. From Master Force you go into Victory, and then from Victory you go into Zone. And then there's even like a little manga continuation, I'm pretty sure, but I forgot. Megatron becomes an Autobot for a little bit. If you didn't know about that, you probably think, like, the only place that he ever turned good was the IDW comics and Earthspark. But no, he turned good in the original timeline. It took a long while, like 50 years or so, but considering the fact that they had been fighting their war for well over several million, I think turning good after such a short amount of time might actually be like you blinked and suddenly this evil conqueror dude who is the reason your entire family is gone is suddenly like a good guy and is working with Optimus Prime. It's a funny thing if you really think about it. Anyways, back to the original thing. So Transformers Zone, it takes place like 40 years into the future of the timeline. I don't even know if it takes place on Earth. I'm pretty sure they like show Earth because Mount Fuji appears, but it doesn't take place on Earth, if you catch what I'm saying. I haven't seen Victory or Master Force. I'm just getting started on Headmasters. Because my friend is a wonderful creator, by the way. He's doing something really cool with it, and thank you to that friend. But point is, right? This series takes place like 50 years into the future. Almost every character you could recognize is gone. The only characters left that you could recognize off a glance, in this OVA is the three combiners I listed. And then, there's also the other Decepticons from the past series, like Overlord appears, which is kind of cool. They're huge, by the way. Like, oh my god, let me tell you guys about the villain. The villain is named Violent Geiger. And you're probably thinking, like, what kind of name is that? Let me tell you right now, that name might sound confusing, but this dude is one of the most menacing Transformers villains who never got brought up again. He is literally, like, think Spiritomb, right? But even more evil and super fucking massive. Like, this dude is gigantic, and he's a demon, but he's also a Decepticon. It's crazy. He leads an army of resurrected Decepticons. He's insane, and he has one of the most intimidating designs ever. And while I've heard of Victory Saber and I've heard of Overlord, I'm sure that other Transformers fans have too. Hell, I'm sure that we've even heard of, like, fucking Deathosaurus, I've never heard of Violent Geiger before, and he really interests me. Like, really, really interests me. Because he's more menacing than Unicron is. Like, he has the same imposing force that Unicron does. He has aura, basically. You watch the opening, you're like, oh god, what is that thing? And then you look it up, and it gets worse. But he's, like, scary, and that's something that you don't really see. Like, yes, Megatron is terrifying on occasion. We have that insert the Shockwave worse than Satan thumbnail, But Violent Geiger is literally that. He's literally Transformers Satan. At least in how terrifying he is. And I'm sure that if the OVA continued into a series, we would have seen him do more. We would have seen him, like, go on to be this actually terrifying force, because he looked scary, dude. There seems to also be actual consequences now. Like, it's a whole thing. The first the OVA opens up with a character's homeworld being destroyed and the Autobots evacuating the population where they can, and the leader of the Autobots almost dies in the first episode. It's a thing. It's a whole thing. But it's great. It's so great. It hooks you immediately because it shows, like, oh yeah, the Decepticons, these guys who, like, bumble around in the G1 cartoon? Yeah, no, there's consequences to everything they do now. This planet's gone. It's crazy. And that's just me ranting for, like, what is this, like, 10 minutes about the OVA from 1990. Transformers Prime. No. I'm going to save Transformers Prime for a moment. Have you guys ever heard of Transformers Animated? If you haven't, well, I hope you learn about it. If you have, this was a dumb question. But Transformers Animated was a series from I cannot speak. The 2000s. Amazing story, amazing world. Everything was done great. It only had, if I recall correctly, 2 seasons. And there was more planned out for, like, a 3rd or 4th season. Something like that. And we almost got Shattered Glass from a TV show. For those of you who don't know, Shattered Glass is pretty much like make the swap the roles. The Autobots are the evil tyrannical force, and then the Decepticons are the freedom fighters, you know? And in most continuities, it's done pretty cool because, you know, like in the cartoon, in the G1 cartoon, the Autobots always win, right? And you see that reflected in the Shattered Glass universe. It's not like it's kind of like Earth 3 from DC, where you have the Justice, no, not the Justice Lords. I forgot what they're called, but you have that group, right? You have that whole faction. And then you have the good guys. Everyone, I'm sure most people have seen the DC animated movie where Lex Luthor's actually a good guy, and Superman can see that because of what the hell is going on over there. Superman can see that because for some reason his organs are on the other side or something like that. But like, you know, it's we almost got that, but the animated show was stopped. It was canceled, you know, and that's tragic. It's where we got Bulkhead. We got a really cool Bumblebee design. I'm not gonna lie. We got Omega Supreme appearing for the first time in like 40 years or 30 years at that point. You know, it was a whole thing. And then it just got canceled. And it sucks. And then we go into Transformers Prime, and Transformers Prime is awesome, and it's so great. There was a few choices that were made that weren't great, you know, like hiring celebrity voice actors. Did you know Dwayne Johnson was in Transformers Prime? Yeah, look up the voice of Cliffjumper. I'm sure you weren't expecting that. But like, what was it? Season 2, they had to start getting rid of characters. Like, a lot of great characters that, honestly, if they had stayed around, we probably would have gotten better story beats. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna, like, try to say that, like, oh, what we got was fine. What we got was fine, you know? But it could have been so much better. It could have been so much better. But instead of that, we got, I forgot his name. It was the Green Plane guy. He got killed because Megatron preferred Starscream over him. The same Starscream that, like, you know, literally betrayed Megatron in the same series, and not like a G1 betrayal. Like, Starscream was off on his own for a long time. Like, he was not an Autobot or Decepticon. He literally took over Megatron's empire and everything. It was crazy. He was the leader of the Decepticons for a bit. And then, you know, they just started killing characters, and it sucked. And the Beast Hunters part, do I think that the Predacons, in the way that they were made in the Prime universe, is not cool? No, I think they're badass. I think Predaking from the Transformers Prime universe is one of the coolest, or my bad, the Aligned universe is really cool. Do I think that it could have been handled better? Yes, I do. And don't even get me started on Robots in Disguise 2015. That's not great. Knowing that that's a continuation of the same universe instead of like an alternate timeline or something, I don't know. It kind of hurts. I don't like what they did with Bumblebee. I mean, I like the everything, you know. It's just, sucks too. Um, and there's been so many occasions of this, where we have something good and then it's just gone. And don't get me wrong, like right now, we're pretty good lore wise. Like we have Skybound, and while I am very scared for the future of the Skybound comic, I do think that some of the things that they've done is pretty good. I don't like the fact that they immediately killed off Bumblebee because they want people to not be attached to Bumblebee. But I am very appreciative that they're giving Cliffjumper a chance to shine. It's very nice, honestly. I think that giving all the other Autobots a chance to shine is just nice. Until Trailbreaker gets his neck bitten into by Megatron and killed. There's a whole thing. But I think that Autobot Thundercracker is awesome, dude. Superion Thundercracker? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. That's something that I wanted. Do I think that Elita Prime is great? No. Do I think that the Autobots abandoning Optimus was great? No, not really. But I'm happy that they're doing something interesting, and it's not even like the worst thing that's come out, let's be for real. You know what we don't have right now? Movies. We don't have movies. Transformers 1 flopped. And I hate that it did. You want to know why I hate that it flopped? Because Transformers 1 was so fucking good. I watched that movie and I fell in love. And I think that any Transformers fan who watched it fell in love too. The issue was the marketing. The marketing sucked. They like MCU-ified the marketing for Transformers 1. And during a time of which everyone was very tired of the MCU formula, that's not that's not great. It led to very decreased sales of tickets, and now we will probably not get a continuation of that universe. As much as I would love it, as much as I know other Transformers fans would want it, we might not get a continuation of that universe. The Night films with they had the Bumblebee movie and then they had Rise of the Beasts or something. They were fun. They were great movies, honestly. I know that they weren't the best. I think that the design for everyone should have been kept because we had Peak. We had Peak and they took Peak away from us. Again. But we got a live action adaptation of Optimus Primal. Albeit it was more in line with other lore where Optimus Primal is just existing alongside Optimus Prime, which isn't great. But we still got him. We got Cheetor and Rhinox, even if Rhinox didn't say a single word. Actually, no. I'm going to actually tackle that. Rhinox is not a silent guy. Rhinox is a very funny guy. I know I might be asking a lot of some people who watch this to go watch the original Beast Wars series because the animation is awful. I had a more fun time watching RWBY Season 1 than I did Beast Wars in regards to animation. But let me tell you right now. Oh, cool, Spider Jockey. Let me tell you right now. Rhinox is a funny dude. He's a smart dude too. And he isn't really quiet. He's like you ever seen... If anyone knows who Beast is from, like, the X-Men 96 cartoon, that is pretty... pretty much what Rhinox is. He's fun. He's awesome. And just, I don't know. They really screwed the ball on that one. They've been screwing the ball on so much of this. Like, we get a movie, a really good movie, but the marketing is terrible. And instead of giving it a second chance, they just cut it off. And I know that that's how a lot of toy properties, like, or things based off toys work, but it's kind of hard to do that when for the longest time you guys had sucky toys too. Like, we had the amazing time that was later 2000s, or like the 2000s figures. Not everyone had the same quality, but that was very innovative for a lot of those figures. Like, have you ever played with a figure from the Classics toy line? It's amazing. If you don't know what the Classics toy line is, look it up. They have so many fun designs. And they're fun. They're fun to pose. I've taken pictures with them. They are fun to mess around with. And I can, even with the modern articulation that a few of the figures have, which we're going to touch on in a moment, I loved those figures. I love messing with those figures. But then we got Age of Extinction. And unfortunately, a lot of the Cyberverse toys weren't the greatest, too. It was only when Legacy hit that we really got, like, some not cheap, but pretty good figures, honestly. And that sucks. Because you had like 10 years where figures just sucked and weren't of the best quality. You had a few hidden gems here and there, but a lot of them weren't great. And because of that, toy sales dropped. And you know what happens when toy sales drop? That was literally the start of this video. When toy sales drop, so does the property. The property stops getting love. It stops getting everything. And that sucks. It sucks being a Transformers fan. I'm sure that for, people who are fans of the Masters of the Universe, I'm sure that was a fear that a lot of people had, that like, oh man, if this sucks, then like this might tank my my property, my toy line. It's a very bitter cycle where if the toy line doesn't sell, the property, the value that's put into it is diminished. And if the value that's put into it is diminished, the more the toy line suffers, and then vice versa, where it just keeps downward spiraling. And it's scary. I saw the Masters of the Universe movie, by the way. Loved that. I loved that movie. I've actually seen some complaints about that movie from people, and they're like, oh, it's just so generic. Dude, I know the MCU had its own formula, but like, Masters of the Universe was doing this long before it was cool. Don't even. Back to the original point. We had the Legacy line of toys. Great toy line. I have a lot of figures from that I'm looking at right now. And a lot of figures around it too got so much better because the toy line was doing so great, and they were putting in money for the articulation and the paint and everything. It was great. But recently they've started to like not be as great. And no, don't get me wrong, like most of the toys are like doing really great, but like figures like the Combiners aren't doing so hot. I've seen some of, I forgot the last time it was when I saw the review, so I could be wrong. I hope I am. And if anyone wants to point out how wrong I am, you can put it in the comments. I just hope that you do it respectfully. Like, they had hollow bits. And, you know, Transformers aren't meant to be, like, super heavy. I mean, like, it's nice if they are. They were originally made out of die-cast, after all. Or parts of them were. But it scares me because we went through, like, 10 years of hollow Transformers that felt like nothing, and they would just fall over because there was no weight to them at all. And I really don't want to return to that. I really want Transformers to get better. And so, to end everything off, to end off this ramble of mine, Transformers is amazing. I love Transformers. But God, does it suck to be a fan of Transformers. And it has sucked since the 90s. Yeah, I'm sure it's actually sucked since the 80s for some kids after they saw Optimus Prime fucking die. God knows that he does that every continuity now. Oh, he appears, you know he's gonna die at least once. It's kind of a rite of passage for a Transformers fan at this point. The only difference is that they now don't have Rodimus because Rodimus was so hated in the 80s. I miss Rodimus. I actually liked Rodimus a lot. Anyways, point is, bring back Transformers Zone. Give it a second chance. That'd be nice. Alright. See you guys later. Hey guys. Thanks to all of you who stayed until the end of the video. As you can see, I tried some editing. Not too much, but I tried. If you liked it, let me know. And I'll continue editing. You know, kind of like what I said in the first video, where you just gotta do it. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.